Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago viewers. We're pleased to be joining you this morning, and we have a very full house here in studio. I been surrounded by some people that I know some of you want some answers to some of the things within this space. So, first of all, I'm gonna start with the man in the middle. Of course, you know him as Assistant Commissioner for the TTPS in Tobago, Mr. Collis Hazel, Officer Collis Hazel. So, good morning, Mr. Hazel.
Good morning, Candice, and good morning to Tobago.
Yes. And then also joining him, we have on his right Mr. Clive Clarke, who is the Transport Commissioner for Licensing Officers in TNT. And on my right, we have Mr. London Mark, and he is the Fire Prevention Officer for the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. So good morning to you both.
Good
Good morning,
morning. Welcome.
Candice.
And Mr. Hazel, I'm going to start with you a little bit because up in the news we had a couple crime fighting issues in the news here. And first of all, I was wondering if we could give the public any update on what's been going on with that investigation into the THE just before we get into the business that we're here for.
So, good morning, Tobago. Good morning, all the viewers from all over the world that are looking at us this morning. It is a delightful moment to be in the company of the public as we seek to engage and to share and to sensitize our stakeholders, some of our plans in terms of security and safety on the island of Tobago. Candice, I must say that from where I sit, that the Tobago division, in which I am pleased to provide executive support, leadership, at this point in time, we are doing, I must say, very good in terms of we are experiencing a detection rate of 32% at this point in time. In terms of our crime fighting strategy, we are also observing that we are challenged with some issues of our murder, of course, and in terms of we have some fraud issues that are taking place, and lastly, motor vehicle. So these are what really we are paying particular attention to at this point in time. And like we are focusing attention to road traffic accidents.
Yes.
And within the recent past, we would have observed that Tobago have had thus far 6 fatalities, and therefore that is not good for where we sit in Tobago. We have lost one of our very own servicemen from the fire service and a very distinguished young lady to road traffic accidents. And we have been seeing the creeping of these other road fatal accidents taking place. And therefore, it is for us to address these issues of safety. And therefore, why we are extending this partnership arrangement. Likewise, you know that the fire services play a critical role in safety. And of course, when we're talking road and safety, we're talking the licensing authority. And therefore, we continue to engage, we continue to partner. Of course, that is part of the strategic direction where we operate in the TTPS as part of our pillar. And hence the reason why we are collaborating and working together in order to mutually solve defined problems that are affecting us.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's start there. When some messages were circulating on social media, WhatsApp, and so on, and we saw a bunch of officers coming off the ferry. We saw some of the personnel attached to the transport division coming up, and there's the talk that these officers from Trinidad are coming to distress the people in Tobago. So I want to alleviate some of those fears or to bring some clarity as to what's happening where we're seeing additional officers coming to Tobago and we're seeing the transport division once again here in Tobago to issue tickets, it seems.
So let me take it from the onset that to see to put that narrative to an end about the officers coming from Trinidad. This country is a twin island republic, and where national security is concerned, there are various arms that continues to work together in the twin island republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So I do not want to hear the public, especially my Tobago counterparts, with what I consider that foolish thought of Trinidad officers coming to Tobago. I am Collis Hazel, the Assistant Commissioner for Tobago and Eastern Division. And as a Tobagonian, I am the representative for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on the National Safety Council. And I am Tobagonian. And therefore, we want to dispel this narrative about Trinidad coming. I am responsible for Tobago and Eastern Division. So there's no separation in terms of national security and our apparatus in where we are holding our end of the bargain in terms of work. We are sworn to work any and everywhere. And I want to put that to a rest so that we can call on the resources of national security at any part to work anywhere. We want no permission from no one. I want to put that on record this morning. Of course, as I mentioned before, we have stakeholder engagement partnership as part of the strategic partnership of the TTPS. And therefore, anyone in which we want to align with is to help us to work with some of the issues that we are plaguing with. We realized quite recently that outside of the accidents of the RTA that we have been seeing, we noticed that there were some situations where the some of the motoring public are not aware of the U-turn system. We are seeing people participating in accidents where our families can be left bewildered, where you have people driving on the nation's road here without any insurance after COVID. You've seen a situation where at the end of the day, and let me just say to you, the transport commissioner will explain to you the implication of how deadly that is in terms of on our pockets and in terms of the end users, where we go with that. We have seen a situation in my case where most of the homicides that we are investigating, we have situations where motor vehicles are being used coming via the ferry, coming to Tobago, wrong number plates, and ending up here among our own people here, purchasing them, using them, and committing crime and criminality. And therefore, we have to address these issues, and it is hence the reason why we are organizing these sessions that we are going to be utilizing here to educate, to inform, and to ensure that we act as a catalyst for change in this society where recklessness about the highways and byways. I'm sharing with you that from what I'm seeing on Claude Noel Highway, as we would call it, sometimes you are scared in terms of the motoring public and how they are approaching. The roads continue to be small. They have not developed in any significant way. But what we have is more vehicles on the same road space. And therefore, that is cause for concern. So we have to be able to engage other strategies whereby we can now police the road, and the police can't do it alone. We need our other partners in national security to help us, and hence the reason why we are utilizing all arm of national security in partnership.
And of course, included the Transport Commission. So, Transport Commissioner, Mr. Clive Clarke, the announcement of your team here in Tobago has sparked quite a bit of concern amongst the traveling public, and I just wanted to speak to the reasons why you are here, in terms of it's whether or not you're here um, to mercilessly issue tickets, or whether or not you're here to help our traveling public get to a point where we are all safe on the roads.
Kandace, good morning again, and thank you very much, and more so to your listening audience. I think this is a brilliant opportunity for us to clarify a number of things as we seek to give that level of support to the police, as well as to deal with some of the challenges we are facing. One of the key things, though, we need to keep in mind, though, is that our mandate is not just to issue tickets. That's the least of our objective. Basically, we are here to work along to educate, sensitize, and to inform. Also, we have recognized certain behavior, certain habits that if it continues, we will find ourselves where persons, families will be at a major disadvantage. And therefore, we have to treat with that as early as possible. So therefore, we will be conducting a number of joint exercises in partnership with TTPS. We are mindful, we are very mindful of that. And we have picked up certain trends that I think is necessary through our information, as well as educating and sensitizing persons that is necessary that we bring to the fore. We have seen and we have picked up, based on the statistics, based on the U-turn system, which Mr. Winter will talk about some more, because the statistics are there. We are seeing a number of persons who are driving without driver's permit. We are seeing persons who are driving with permits that have been expired and have failed to come in to renew their permits because they may have sanctions on those tickets. We have seen persons, and especially we recognize this environment is a tourist industry, and we have seen some issues where we have even some of our foreigners need guidance, and we think we can liaise with the rental agencies, the taxi association, and so forth, in informing persons what is required for when they are driving on the nation's road. I need to say, if we don't address these issues and we find some way along the trail, a major accident, something ought to happen, as I said, families will be at a disadvantage when come to treating with some of these matters. I want to stress an important point. I don't want us to forget this one here today. I, as commissioner, has recognized of late through our new inspection system, we have picked up a number of stolen vehicles, and we are also seeing them circulating in Tobago. I'm going to talk about Tobago in terms of that. And what is worrying me, in the past, some of those vehicles have been re-registered into licensing. And some of those, and due to the fact that the inspection system allows us to detect those, we have found situations where persons are acquiring vehicles without doing any due diligence, and then finding themselves in situations when we locate those vehicles. You may have some sort of loan with financial agencies, with different financial agencies, that you can find yourself in problems. Persons are participating in certain transactions because they feel they may have a contact in licensing. So X seeking to purchase a vehicle, I decide to go to a company who might be offering me a one-stop shop service, making you feel just purchase this vehicle. You don't need to go to licensing. I have a contact. I will do everything for you. We have systems now to pick that up. And what we have found, the persons who participated in those activities, 98% of the time is either a stolen vehicle or a knocked down vehicle. By that I mean they cut out the chassis from one vehicle, place it in another, or file over the chassis in that specific vehicle and stamp something else. And I'm saying, though, we are here to protect you from your investment. We are also picking up a number of key offenses. I will just talk about one of them. Mr. Winter will talk about the details. Seatbelts seem to be an issue. The use
even
of seatbelts.
In 2023.
Yes, even in 2023. And I'll tell you something. I strongly believe if we treat with this seatbelt issue, we will find ourselves in the event there are any eventualities, minor accidents, etc. You will find yourself in a position where we can save lives. And my concern is lives and family. Hence, the commissioner have serious concern and have decided to team up with the TTPS in addressing these issues in Tobago.
All right, well, I'm going to have to stick a pin there. And viewers, don't worry, we are going to be speaking to a lot more of these concerns that the police are faced with, what they are looking for, what you as drivers need to be aware of while you are on the roads. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we have a jam-packed conversation for you this morning. We are continuing speaking with ACP Collis Hazel for Tobago. We have the Transport Commissioner, Mr. Clive Clarke, the man of the hour right now in Tobago. And of course, we also have Mr. London Mark, who is a fire prevention officer for the TTPS. And we are talking about road safety this morning because that is incredible. It's so very much important. Now, like I know, there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of anticipation, apprehensiveness within the space with the presence of the Transport Commission here in Tobago for what, the next week or so?
Yes, next couple of days.
Next couple of days, right? Now, what are some of those things? Sometimes people, they complain, like when they get stopped by the officers, they get ticketed for sometimes something very minor, some things that they may not be aware of. And, you know, they often say, people often complain that the officers are unjust. Why you ticketed me for this? You know, so can you enlighten us as to what some of those things that the traveling public is not really aware of, but can attract fines as well as the demerit points on their licenses?
Yeah, thank you very much again. Let me say, though, is that anyone receiving a fixed penalty notice, so we use the term ticket, under the new fixed penalty system, we refer to it as a fixed penalty notice. And there's a number of offenses one can receive a ticket for. And I want to say, though, the officer who may be engaged at the point in time with the driver, we take this opportunity to explain the reason as to some of the concerns we are seeing. We sometimes have, or most times, have a conversation about individuals. And sometimes we discover that these individuals are aware of some of the things that have been taking place. When we retrieve the data from some of these persons, we are seeing where warnings have been issued to them. And therefore, there are times we issue warnings and there are times we issue tickets. I want to say we have a zero tolerance when it comes to things like seatbelt and cell phone. We have seen even yesterday, while we were, just a case in point, while we were leaving our hotel, when I, the commissioner, looked back to ensure the last vehicle came out, and just behind the last vehicle, someone was driving with a camera on top of the vehicle, holding in his hand through a cell phone, using a cell phone and taping. This is the level of defiance we see taking place. And if you look at the statistics, just turning your eyes away from the road, that could be fatal to someone, and therefore you have to call up the fire service and all these different resources and so forth, etc. So there are some offenses we have zero tolerance for, and as commissioner, I'm not going to try to butter that. There are some offenses we take the opportunity to guide and to advise persons. You need to have these things remedied. While this is not one of the things we have picked up a lot also is that we are finding persons with the heavy vehicles as well as the lighter vehicles, driving those vehicles not with smooth tires. We have gone past that. We are seeing now the canvas and the steel on the tires. And if you own a vehicle, you need to address those issues. Zero tolerance we have on those matters. And we're saying those are things you have a clear choice in terms of treating with those issues. I encourage persons to get their vehicle inspected. Get your vehicle inspected. It contributes towards safe driving. We know there is a challenge in Tobago with the number of inspection stations, etc. Yes. I take the opportunity here again to say that we encourage persons who may have the necessary infrastructure approach the commissioner I will have no objection approving garages once you meet the necessary specifications. The specifications, the guidelines, all those things are online on the website. You could simply type vehicle testing stations and you will get all the guidelines necessary to set up an inspection station, and you can even apply online. I can tell you it takes less than 6 weeks to approve a testing station once they have the necessary infrastructure
And as
in
you
place.
raise that matter of the testing stations, is there any sort of like, I guess, mercy being shown to some drivers? Because it really is a challenge with the fact that we don't really have many stations that we can go to get vehicles inspected. And especially with the amount of vehicles, sometimes people are going several days in a row trying to get this done, and they're not always able to get it done within a timely manner.
I'll tell you something, and I hear you and I agree to a point. You know, in January, we had a sort of upsurge of persons seeking to get their vehicle inspected because they know we were continuing and ramping up enforcement on that. You know, I took the opportunity to drive by while I'm here by some of those inspection stations, and I'm not seeing the enthusiasm too. So while that is so, we are not seeing the enthusiasm from persons for doing so. I don't know if there might be a lack of enforcement of challenges, etc. with that. But I'm telling you, that will lead straight into road fatalities because these persons may continue to drive their vehicles defective. And I'm saying though, as it is right now, between January to now, we are now in August. And basically, I was hoping we see much more vehicles would have been behind the inspection sticker and so forth at this point in time because the opportunity is there. I think for some reason there seemed to be a lack of will to participate in that. And I'll tell you something, if we do not seek to enforce that component of the law, we will find ourselves in problems.
And then tell me a bit about, just some of the other infractions that you are seeing out there on the roads. The most common infractions, even with your vehicle, that that people are not paying attention to.
Well, we have a particular aspect we tend to want to raise. I'm going to be specific to what you asked. But we talk about defective fittings on vehicles, and we have seen a number of those. We sometimes try our best to advise persons in terms of having these things rectified. I know the last time we were here, we issued a number of warnings for those, as well as we issued tickets because we saw previously person had warnings and failed to remedy the situation. We tried to build a history and also the TTPS in conducting enforcement. But a vehicle that is defective again could lead to serious problems.
All right, and then I want to bring in Mr. Lyndon Mark from the Tobago Fire Service into this conversation as well. What would you say are some of the most common issues that people don't pay attention to that leads to accidents that you guys have to be the first responders to?
Right, from our experience over the years, what we realized that speeding is one of the major issues of persons on the roadway. And they are not paying particular attention to the road conditions at the time. But according to the change in the road condition, you have to change your driving habits, and you are not seeing that from persons when they do their driving.
No, there's been a joke within our public sometimes when we're out on the road. It's like you see some of the driving, and you wonder if the persons bought their license. Are we cracking down on how people drive after they've got their license, whether it's through legal or illegal means, but ensuring that they really do follow the laws that are outlined? Any one of you all can take it.
Let me answer that first, ACP, if you allow me. I know you will. I know you'll have a field day with that. I just need to say that this is the fundamental. How do we do that? We do that by means of enforcement. We do that by means of having officers on the road. We do that by means of ensuring we have proper traffic signage and so forth, etc. And yes, I know we know the wider or the higher levels have responsibility to ensure we have proper roads and that sort of thing. But as the chief said in the context of is that person must be able to look at the conditions and adapt to what is necessary. What we are doing at the licensing authority, though, is that one of the things we have done at in the licensing department, I want to say, yes, this commissioner does not hide to say to the fact. We have seen persons who, when we look at the record, evidence does not show that that person would have been issued a permit from the licensing division. And I'm saying, though, we have now put systems in place to stop that. For you to now have your permit, your Class 3 permit, or any permit from licensing, you have to go through a digitized process from what we call from the inception, from the learner's permit point of view. And that permit will not print unless you participate in a regulations process, because it's integrated. It will not print unless you pay for that service within licensing. And basically, once that permit is created, it is now accessible to the TTPS through their systems. It's now accessible to the insurance agencies. It's now accessible to through the internet, for which one could now validate that your driver's permit. I want to say one time while I'm here, the persons who are in the rental agencies and the taxi agencies, etc., persons who are hiring drivers, I advise you strongly, go online and validate that permit that is presented to you from that individual. Validate that permit to see how many demerit points that person have. Validate that permit to see if it exists within licensing. The opportunity now is there, so you could make proper decision in terms of who you are putting to operate your vehicle.
And we're going to have the phone lines open pretty soon. So you, the viewers, I know many of you have a lot of burning questions. So you would have your opportunity to call in a little bit. So I just wanted to mention that to get yourself ready. And Mr. Hazel?
Yes, this is all about the whole idea of sensitizing persons. The Transport Commissioner spoke to the idea of persons with illegal permit, as I would want to put it that way. And of course, I want to say to you that, John, the public, that time has changed. People have changed. Even problems change. Technology change. But leadership endures. And it is because of leadership in the new space that we are putting forward all these new technological devices, so that in the past times, it would have been easy for you to get away with just what we had in just the normal permits that anybody could have created. Now, the way in which it is designed and structured and digitized, it is difficult in order for persons to benefit in terms of in that way. And hence the reason why we are here to educate people as well, because people will try their own ways in order to break the system, and a lot of that has been showing up. And before people are being caught, it is important that law enforcement must act as that catalyst for change in informing, education, and educating people. And hence the reason for these sessions. I must say to you, Kandace, that later this afternoon, we will be at the library's auditorium, where we are going to have a public session with our taxi drivers, with our rental companies, with our tour operators, because they are strategic people that we have seen that things are happening. And we need to alert persons in terms of some of what we have observed, and to educate them in terms of what is taking place, because you have situations where even people with international permits are coming here, coming on the island. Some of the international permits that they are coming here with, we have our migrant workers are coming and utilize those permits, and there are countries in which would tell you that they have no authority to issue international permits in their jurisdiction. Yet they are coming with permits. People are employing them, and when you put them through the digitized system is when we're picking them to understand that this can't work. The number that is being utilized here as the registration number just cannot fit in our system. We are seeing situations where people are going and buy vehicles and not checking on the demerit points of the drivers. And all these things are causing issues.
And stick a pin right here, because maybe you need to explain that a little bit to the public who may not be aware of some of those challenges and how the demerit points sometimes switches over to the driver of the vehicle.
So I'll hand that over to the transport.
Yes.
Okay, let me answer that. But we do have Mr. Winter coming up shortly who will explain the system and processes with that related to the demerit points. Very important for the listening audience. I just need to say though, one of the things we practice is that we strongly believe that that when an offense is committed where demerit points exist on a fixed penalty ticket or any fixed penalty ticket where demerit points exist, yes or no, the responsibility lies on the offender. I want to make that absolutely clear. We take steps to ensure that we could identify the offender, and the offender can more or less treat what could treat what is required under the law for the offender. So you find there's what the law allows for, and I'll just touch on this a bit. If for some reason you do not pay your ticket within the required time, there's escalation, etc. We'll talk about. You now enter into a phase you refer to as sanctions. Right, and the law gives the commissioner the authority to apply sanctions as the case may be on the vehicle or on the offender. The practice is that we place the sanctions on the offender, and we look for whether the vehicle is owned by the offender. So in the event the vehicle shows up to do a transaction, we could now more or less the whole intention is to ensure when they pay that ticket, that matter is clear. So we look at sanctions on vehicle if it is owner driven, and that's one of the things we need to keep in mind. We at times, sometimes which we have discontinued, sometimes we place we previously at times place the sanctions on the vehicle with the intent when that vehicle come in, we use it as an opportunity to find the offender, but we realize that posed some problems and some challenges. So we have removed sanctions on all vehicles to so we could avoid that situation. And this is why you see we ask persons when they come to license, we require that you bring in proof of address. That has been very instrumental, and hence the reason why we put it on our scheduled form for certain transactions. So indirectly, it's now part of the process, it's part of law, part of the process is put by the transport commissioner to help validate these individuals. So we have some other challenges where sometimes we had situations, even though you might have sanctions on a vehicle, on an owner-driven aspect, before the process more or less reached an end, that owner might have sold that vehicle to someone else.
Yes.
When we see those situations, we take the opportunity to remove the sanction because again, though, we have to ensure that that in the event that transaction takes place that is heading to another party who may not be responsible, that person don't take the responsibility for that. So we have put additional administrative processes in place to ensure that don't happen.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, viewers, but don't worry, when we come back, you'll be able to post some questions yourself. I know quite a lot of you have some questions, and so the number to call would be 284-6597. So keep that number on hold, and when we come back after this quick break, you can pose your questions.
Tobago updates.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are chatting this morning with the ACP for Tobago, Mr. Collis Hazel, Officer Collis Hazel, I should say, as well as the Transport Commissioner, Mr. Let me just bring up the names again, Mr. Clive Clarke, as well as Mr. Lyndon Mark from the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Now, ACP Hazel, we had the last time we had some of the transport officers here in Tobago, there was a concern that because a lot of the vehicles, especially in the countryside of Tobago, that operate as PH taxis, etc. Of course, all of them went into hiding during that time for fear of being ticketed, you know. And there was a situation that came up because people were not able to readily access transport to go home. There were some challenges that came out with that. And then we had the Chief Secretary also speaking about that, so that there should have been some collaboration before coming down in such heavy force here in Tobago. Is that how is that situation being treated with this time around?
Candice, let me say to you, any taxi, any vehicle of that sort who went into hiding know that they were doing something wrong. We tend in this small place to put blanket over our eyes and conveniently use all excuses in order to treat with situations. The Tobago, the licensing department, the police, the fire, all of us know as Tobagonian that we don't have a taxi service that goes to Charlottesville.
Yes.
So what we thrived on is the public transportation, the bus. We thrive on private cars taking people in terms of that. So that was not the issue, may I say. The issue would have been somewhere along the line where persons knew that their vehicle may have been defective in some way or the other and that they were going into hiding. And clearly, this is what some of the sensitization is all about. In order to educate and inform persons in terms of your security. We want you to be safe rather than to be sorry. Candice, you know I am talking in the space of a Tobagonian and a family member. We are close knitted. You know how it felt to lose the life of those last two persons on the nation's road? What grief that brought the family of Tobago into? That was because of an accident. We have seen quite recently where a young boy took a vehicle, it was reported stolen, went and crashed it into an establishment. These are infrastructures that are damaged, these are lives that are lost. And when you do check it, those persons, somehow or the other, they either have never been issued, and this life is important to everyone in this place. And to lose these lives and family are grieving over the year. Think about it where that mother and father, husband and wife, I'm talking about, lost their loved one. These children are growing now without knowing there is no daddy, there is no mommy. You're studying in terms of all the significant difficulties that they are traveling into. But yet still for our own benefits, we sit there and we realize, we look at the licensing, we look at the fire service, we look at the police as being beasts. We are there to carry out the function of enforcement and education and sensitization, and that is what we are there to do. So I want to debunk the whole story about people can't get no vehicle to go nowhere. Poppycock. What I want people to do is to practice what is the requirement. If you are driving a motor vehicle on the road, you ought to have a license. You ought to have ensure that it is insured. Many times, people run up and down here. You have to ensure that it is safe so that people can travel in it. Because the same people who saying they don't have no vehicle in order to go about their merry business, you're condoning something. Sometimes we in vehicles and drivers are driving speedily above the limit. And you will ask yourself, being responsible, you ought to be telling that driver, if you cannot drive within the limit, put me out. We have to be to advocate and to be able to take charge and be responsible for our own lives. So when I hear all these things about people can't get there, who you talking to? I am Tobagonian. I live in the country. I live in Roxborough. You're not bringing that story to me. I am saying, let us practice what is right and ensure if you are doing the right thing, you could sit back comfortable in your luxury. Nobody ain't troubling you. But it's the people who outside there who are encouraging. You know, I want to put this on the record too as well. As we try to make this place safe, the firearms that we have been finding in Tobago quite recently, and we're going to be publishing some of them, commending some of the officers pretty soon.
And we're looking forward for that.
So you will look
Yes.
forward to see that. It's firearms, and we are donkey and horses about here, you know. People are traveling in motor vehicles and concealing those firearms inside there. So we ought to be able to be making routine checks. So from time to time, when you see my officers are asking for you to pop the trunk and search inside, it's because we have intelligence-led policing taking place where we have an idea that people are outside toting firearms all about the place. And it is about making Trinidad and Tobago safe. So I really want to say, if you have, as the Tobagonian would say, if you have cocoa, son, no look for rain.
All right, and of course, I just want to pause here to say that the phone lines are open, so you can just call the line and pose your questions to the officers. They are here. What I notice a lot of questions that people have. The number is 284-6597. 284-6597. And just as you brought up the incident of the Adams accident, and it's still a trauma that exists amongst a lot of our family members here in Tobago. We want to get some answers as to what's going on with that investigation, especially with the truck that was cleared to go down to Trinidad that very same night. I don't know if either Mr. Clarke or Officer Hazel, you'd be able to provide some clarity as to what really happened there and what's going on with that investigation.
Okay, so I can say to you, and then just to debunk that, you see, we have a sort of fairy tale thing that we take and run about this place with. And I received several calls from people all over telling me about the truck. They take the truck and the truck running down to Trinidad and what's that? Poppycock foolishness. We went out there on limbs and in telling people the whole idea about the fact that I came off a flight the same day that accident took place. And my first order of day was to provide comfort to the aggrieved party who I saw was persons involved, families, victims there, and dealt with that. My second order was to look at the access on the scene of the accident. And present, we were able to get the Assistant Commissioner of Transport, my colleague here in Tobago, to come on spot right away. I, with my own two eyes, saw him inspected the vehicle. Now, according to the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, when a vehicle is involved in an RTA, it ought to be a fatal RTA, it ought to be inspected.
Yes.
That vehicle was inspected the very same day the accident took place. So there was no need for us to take it and impound it in any vehicle or in any station for anybody to come. So
and just stick a pin right there because we do have a caller on the line. So good morning, caller, and welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. So you can pose your questions to anyone on the panel.
Yes, well, my question is to Mr. Hazel. My question is to the Transport Commission. There has been reports of people been certainly in the inspections on the road, but it feels like we've been hearing like a tear in the feet. Yeah, you are stopping your tire missing and given a ticket for those kind of seeming small issues. Are those real? I mean, are those for real or are those made up things? I mean, you get a ticket because you're a car. Yeah, I don't think that would have interrupted the structure of the vehicle. You'd be able to be in the roadway or anything like that. Just asking for information.
Okay.
I didn't hear quite
You
clearly.
didn't hear it too clearly. Caller, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Could you just speak up a little bit because you sounded a little bit muffled, so the panel wasn't able to hear you clearly.
Okay, so this is regard to people just saying that you're being stopped by the light stop for excuse like tear on your seat, your car being torn, your valve cover on your tire missing, that kind of thing. Are these real issues that would prevent a vehicle from being roadworthy and warranting to get the actual ticket?
Okay. All right. So I think he was speaking to like
Something about
covers
inspection.
Sorry?
Something about inspection.
Right, covers on your vehicles and things like probably the hub for the wheels and things like that. Um, is that a concern?
No, no. If again, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question quite clearly. If we are referring to things like covers for the wheel, like hubcaps and so forth, those are things that we don't charge for. That's not necessary. Those are accessories that that are not compulsory for that when it comes to for one giving a ticket for defective vehicles and so forth. No.
And I know, I mean, and just to sort of jump some of the callers here, but the last time around there was a concern even about the license plates.
Yes, yes.
Because I mean, we're so used to, you know, a long time ago by somebody who could paint and they do the thing and then you just put it on your car. But it's changing now to a more formalized system.
Yeah, I am so happy you raised that question there, because that's something we have picked up quite a while, and we have seen it in Tobago and in Trinidad. We refer to that as the face number plate. Number plates, there are two types. You're talking about the new modern types you are seeing,
Yes.
but then we have what is more to concern with us at those number plates where you are seeing, and sometimes we take it for granted. A tree could look like an 8 and so forth because the number plates are faded. And I'll tell you something, that could be a serious issue when it comes to law enforcement if you have to identify that vehicle properly for your statements and so forth
Certainly.
in the event of a crime.
And I gotta pause you right there because we do have another caller. Good morning and welcome to you.
Hi, good morning.
Yes.
Hello. Good
Go ahead
morning.
and pose your question, ma'am.
All right, this question is for the commissioner. I went to have my car inspected at a garage, and when I got there, I was told that my vehicle is not on the system. I went to licensing more than almost a month now and returned yesterday, and up to now, nothing has been done. And nothing has been done.
Yeah,
So,
I'm happy
Commissioner?
you raised that question, because we have, and you're quite right, the way our system is designed, it is to treat with some of the inconsistencies in licensing and as well as some of the inconsistencies we see due to criminal tendencies. We have situations where persons may, when licensing records were digitized some years ago, it was digitized through a process whereby, you scan the data and someone enter what they see. So you could have data entry issues. And if I can tell you, I recall some years ago that was the data was scanned in Trinidad and some folks in another country, they were entering the chassis numbers and so forth.
Wow.
We call it indexing, right? So we have situations where sometimes persons may put in a ZFAR2 and these type of things. And those are errors that we could pick up and we could reconcile. I have to say this guardedly, what you may not know, sometimes when a garage tell you your vehicle is not on the system, it is not that it's not on the system, it's that we alone can see what exists with that. And this is how we are picking up vehicles that have duplicate registration number, vehicles that have duplicate chassis. And it's here we are picking up where we are seeing vehicles that might be stolen or vehicles for some reason through a system licensing had in the past where the number was not the numbers were not generated on an automatic basis. It was one which they give out 1 to 5 to one site and 6 to 10 to another site. What happened sometimes in the past, those same numbers were given out to that site that resulted in administrative duplication, and those are the easy ones to fix. Some of the duplication or some of the issues we are not seeing on the system, sometimes we have to go and find the other vehicle. That vehicle is duplicated with, and most times, I mean last week alone, we discovered about 5 stolen vehicles because of being referrals from the garages.
Right.
And sometimes, and let me just say, the very persons that are in those situations who make the complaint discover now that they have in their possession a stolen vehicle. I want to say though, however, we have put systems in place to address that as speedily as possible, and most likely they are in the process of locating a vehicle, but locating the other vehicle it might be duplicated with. Questions might ask, will I get a ticket for an inspection if I say such is happening? Two things I want to make it clear. Any ticket anyone receive, you can contest that. It is not the final say. That is left for the court. Any ticket, you can contest that ticket. That's one. Secondly, we do have necessary information while we are on the road to radio check our systems and see if there's we call it an amendment might have raised with this vehicle, and therefore we say obviously we cannot and we will not issue a fixed penalty ticket if the vehicle is not inspected. We do have access to information on that.
All right, Commissioner. And we got another caller on the line. Good morning and welcome to you, caller.
Hi, President. Good morning to the entire panel. I have questions and suggestions as well. The commissioner would have spoken about signage. One thing I could say in Tobago, we lack signage. And in addition, a lot of these signs are hidden by the bush, trees, and that kind of stuff. So we need all the entities to work together to ensure that one, the signs are visible not only for the locals but for tourists as well, and have more signs on the roadway. Right? That's one. Two, another question. Why does it take so long to get a certified copy? Because I would have purchased a vehicle, two vehicles, San Fernando, Port of Spain, and I was told check the system in 4 to 6 months to see if the certified copy is available. But if I go to get the vehicle inspected, I am being told by the inspection station I cannot inspect the vehicle unless I have the certified copy in my name. So I have to go searching now for the previous owner to issue authorization, and they are not willing. Why not have the process when you're doing the transfer include an inspection as well, and issuance of a sticker or some evidence that the vehicle was inspected in going forward, and or improve the process of having the certified copies ready in a more timely manner. So for my sake, if I'm driving, I have kids, let's say I'm going to the supermarket and I get stopped, I may get charged because the vehicle is not I don't have a valid sticker. But is it really my fault?
Let me answer this though. In general, our key performance index or delivery time for certified copy. Some sites you get it same day, some sites you get it within 2 days. That's the standard practice for issuers of the certified copy when you have no issue with the records. The ACP for Tobago will be on shortly. I know he have given me his commitment as certified copies are normally generated on a faster basis. He may probably talk to some more on that. But we do have situations. I've never heard of a certified copy taking so long to give in terms of months. We do have situations though where we see, and our systems now, when you come to apply for a certified copy at the licensing department, and you go to the cashier, that the system is built in such a way now whereby the cashier will check, they must put in that vehicle number on the system. And therefore, if that vehicle number doesn't show up on the system, they will tell you, listen, we're having problems with your record, so you don't pay. So they send you by an area to do what you call a query. And then in querying again is where we sometimes find those duplicate records because might be linked to stolen vehicles and that sort of thing. But again, the processes are there to ram that up. I will want to advise you, if you're calling from Tobago and that issues in Tobago, that you visit the ACP. We do have a walk-in thing where a person could query those challenges, ask for the ACP in charge. I heard you call San Fernando. You go there, you have an assistant transport commissioner also, ATC, sorry, and ACP on both sides. As well as have automotive licensing officers. And let me say, those persons are willing to assist. And I will tell you something, and let me say it here today. We have had situations when we sometimes try to build processes in place and we put certain key performance index and systems in place. We have persons who we have found that are not licensing staff. I want to make it clear, not licensing staff are finding themselves in an environment and giving persons impression that these are some of the things that are happening, and sometimes they're seeking to assist and making things more complicated for persons. Ensure, I advise persons with visiting licensing, ensure you conduct your service at someone at the counter and not someone who might be purporting to be staff on the outside.
All right, well, we're going to have to take a pause there and take a break. But viewers, don't worry, we'll continue to take your calls when we come back just after this.
Rise up to a brand new dawn, and as the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Yeah. Hey.
So good morning, Tobago. And yes, I know, viewers, you are very eager to get your questions in to the Transport Commissioner as well as the ACP in. So we have another caller on the line. So good morning and welcome to the show, caller.
Yeah, good morning. I'd like to address the relevant person. Why is it that when you have to challenge a ticket, it's ambiguous? You cannot tech savvy. You have difficulty in going ahead with the process, and then you're blamed for not.
Caller, good morning.
Yes, hello.
Yes, go ahead with the question, caller.
Right. I'm concerned. I like to find out why is it that it's so challenging when you have to appeal a ticket that's been issued to you. You have to take pictures. You have to get so much information, and everybody is not tech savvy. Could that process be made easier? That's my question.
Let me. I think I got the question, and Mr. Winter will talk a little more about that. The new fixed penalty system and the judiciary have taken the position also in support of the system that persons contest your ticket online. And let me say, we see hundreds of persons contesting tickets, right? But we do recognize that the user spoke about being tech savvy, technical savvy in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, though, we encourage persons. The system is very user friendly and simple, and therefore we also advise persons. You normally say sometimes when we are seeking to get things like visa and so forth to go aboard and so forth, we do seek assistance from our friends, our loved ones who might be able to guide and help with those things. If you might have a challenge in terms of that, that's the new way in which it is done. And we encourage persons to do so because a court date and so forth is now assigned electronically based on the system. Yes, yesterday I met someone in Moriah, and he raised the point that he had some problem contesting his ticket because of the fact that he didn't have an email address, right? He said, but nevertheless, he was able to get assistance from a relative and so forth in assisting in treating with that. I'm saying though, the contesting your ticket and that's your right. And I'm saying though, any officer, whether it be a transport officer, whether it be a licensing officer, a traffic warden, police, you have your right to contest your ticket. That is your right, and you should try your best to contest it by the approved method by the entities for doing so.
All right, and just before we go again, I just need to give Mr. Lyndon, Mr. Lyndon Mark, just a little chance to give us an update on what's happening, because viewers, we have the Commonwealth Games happening here in Tobago, and it is going to pose some challenges for motorists on the road and so on. So could you just give us an update as to what we can expect for the Commonwealth Game?
The Commonwealth Game starts tomorrow, the opening ceremony. We have a symbol cast with both Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
So the venues, Shore Park Cultural Complex, Shore Park Recreation Grounds. You have Buku for the triathlon. Blackrock for the volleyball. So the venues were inspected. Most of them is ready to go. There are some minor issues to ensure that they are completely ready in terms of fire safety. But we are going back there today to ensure that everything's in place so that when persons visit the scene, they are safe to use the facility. So we will be there ensuring that persons are safe in case of any emergency. We are there to assist them. Evacuation plans were developed for all the venues. So in case of an emergency, persons who are working there, the fire service, the police, the security officers are aware of the evacuation plan, so they'll be able to guide persons to the safety, to the muster points, and so on. So we are ready to go for that.
And then any other thing that the motorists should know while they're out and about?
Well, the police service will in terms of the
just to add to that, Tobago, we are hosts to the Commonwealth Games, which is a very important international games. And I would want to say to us all, it means that we are accommodating much more persons in our space on the same roads that we have since God was a little boy. And I am just asking us all to make sure that we utilize the roads with due diligence in terms of our driving and making that consideration for other road users. We have visitors, we have the triathlon that will be taking place as well. Safety is of paramount importance for our users and of course our tourists and visitors alike. Please let us continue to abide by the motoring with the traffic enforcement officers who are going to be on the roads, because it is all geared towards your safety and the safety of others. So let us reduce the speeding. I want to say to us that this is not going to be just a show to deal with Commonwealth Games. There are going to continuously be enforcement with the the traffic, the licensing officers and the police working together on this island all throughout the year. So I'm asking us, the best you can do is to prepare yourself. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And that is our word to you.
I want to thank you so much, Officer Hazel. And viewers, we still got a little bit more time where we will be able to continue with some of these discussions, and you will be able to pose a few more questions. So right after the break, so just keep that number handy, and we can continue these discussions. On Tobago Updates, viewers, we are giving you the opportunity this morning to have your questions answered in regards to what is expected of you on the roads. We know that there's so much concern within the space. There's so many questions. There's so many rumors, misconceptions, misinformation. But we're here today to give you clarity on what you need to know as a driver. Now, we had the Transport Commissioner on, we had the ACP on for Tobago, and they were just giving us some tips and answers some of the questions. Now, we are going to continue with those questions because on with us, we have some of the people that are more on the ground and more knowledgeable with the intricacies of some of these laws so that you are better aware on the roads. So we are being joined by Mr. Adrian Winter, that's on my far right. And he is the Transport Enforcement Coordinator. Is that correct?
Traffic Enforcement.
Coordinator, as well as Mr. Kandace Prasad and Motor Vehicle Inspector 1. Mr. Prasad? Oh, you're Mr. Prasad. Okay. Yeah. And Mr. Ramesh Gupta, Assistant Transport Commissioner for the Tobago office. Yes, yeah. All right, viewers. So these are the people that have the answers to your many, many questions. So first of all, let me just get into a couple of the things that people have some concerns about. And, in terms of when you come across a licensing officer on the road and they ask for your license and registration and you fail to give them that, or the driver fails to give you that, what is the action? Is it that they're obligated to present you with those documents, or can they refuse?
According to the law, it is an arrestable offense if they don't produce it, right? if they were never issued a permit, a driver's permit, it's also an arrestable offense. So they can be charged, they can be arrested and taken to court.
Mhm.
If they don't hand it up, if they don't give it, and if they don't have it to produce, it is also a charge.
Hmm. And then when it comes to accidents, right? How long after an accident occurs should it be reported?
Immediately. Yeah.
Hmm. What are also some of the most popular challenges that you guys face with vehicles that you notice when you're out there on the roads that people don't pay attention to, and then they respond was like, that is what you're ticketing me for? You know, how that's stopping an accident and all those things. Yeah, I know you guys probably hear the world of things from the drivers out there, but could you just share with us some of those things that capture your attention that people need to pay attention to or may not understand that some of these things are ticketable offenses?
Okay, if you look, most of the time you're on the roadway, vehicles, seatbelt. You feel to wear seatbelt a lot. Cell phone. People always on their cell phone. If you look at the nighttime, well, probably they like unauthorized lights. Right? We tend to go to these shops and buy lights and just install it into the vehicles, not knowing the basic law when it comes to those things. Defective tires. Right? Yes, we are open market to foreign use tires, but at some point in time, the tires going to reach to a point where canvas wire. It's not a show. You need to pay attention, and more or less, if we pay attention or do a pre-inspection of our own vehicle, we may not find ourselves in a position to be ticketed.
I mean, and as you mentioned the lights, because I know we in Tobago, some of our young men love those fancy lights on the car. What is allowed and what is not allowed?
Once the vehicle is manufactured with those lights, those are what is allowed. The ones that they put on, the blue light, the yellow lights, all those other that they install afterwards, those are the ones that you can be ticketed for.
Mm-hmm. I know tint is also a major concern. Can you share with us, just for the edification of people?
Kandace, yeah, if I might be allowed the opportunity to really put the amendments to the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Act, which were operationalized in May of 2020, into context. Now, one of the major reasons why we made those amendments was against the backdrop of a number of road traffic accidents, a number of road traffic fatalities, a clogged judicial system. So what we set about to do was to amend the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic. Oh, one of the major points I forgot to make as well is that we sought to decriminalize those traffic offenses, because in the past, those traffic offenses were considered as criminal offenses. So in doing so, when we revised the legislation, which is commonly referred to as Act 9 of 2017, as amended by Act 15 of 2020, we revised those traffic violations and introduced as well a demerit point system. Yes. And what the demerit point system is really aimed at change driving behavior. Because what we hope is that, once someone gets that first ticket that carries demerit points, they change their driving behavior, because they know from the onset that those demerit points can lead to the possible disqualification of your driving permit. And some of the common traffic violations, as you were asking a short while ago, in Tobago here, because what the new system also allows us is that real-time access to data. So before, if you ask some of these same questions, you may not have gotten the data so quickly. So one of the things that the system allows us to do is to get that real-time access to data.
And we certainly appreciate that in the media.
Yeah, so in Tobago, what we are seeing is that continued persons driving without their seatbelt, as the ATC just mentioned, that of breach of traffic signage, use of vehicles without a valid insurance policy, defective fittings, defective tires. Those are some of the common traffic violations here in Tobago. Speeding is also one of the number one traffic violations over here. So, we really want to aim at that change driving behavior to, as the ACP rightfully pointed out, so that families can get home safely. Because I don't know if you all saw the news just in Trinidad recently, where the guy used the priority bus route illegally, driving while drunk, and now a family is without their mother.
Yes.
Children is without their children without their mother, probably sisters without their sister, brothers without their sister. So it's a cycle, and those are things that people never get over. Never get over. It's one thing losing a family member to some sort of illness, but to lose a family member suddenly to a road traffic accident is
Especially a drunk driver.
Especially a drunk driver. But it's not only drunk driving, because speeding is a number one contributor to road traffic fatalities as well. So people, when they come to us, they say, well, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't driving drunk, I wasn't driving dangerously. I was just going over the speed limit by a little bit. But sometimes going over the speed limit by a little bit can cause control issues with the vehicle.
Certainly. And viewers, just so you know that you can still call in and pose your questions. The number is 284-6597, 284-6597. Now, we are going to continue posing the questions. Certainly, one of them is understanding this whole demerit system. And, you know, at what point in time does the accumulated points be expunged from your record? Because I know there's a time limit to some of these demerit points. So just to provide some clarity for our viewers.
Yes, so demerit points are applied against your driving permit for certain traffic violations under the revised MVRT. Now, once those demerit points are applied against your record, what we hope for, as I said, is that change driving behavior so that people don't lead to what we call disqualification of the driving permit. Because when we talk in disqualification of driving permit, we're talking about two different categories of drivers. We consider newly licensed drivers and we consider experienced drivers. A newly licensed driver is one who has held their permit for 12 months or less. An experienced driver is one who has held his or her permit for 12 months or more. With the newly licensed driver, anything 7 demerit points or over can lead to the disqualification of your driving permit. And experienced permit holders are placed in 3 brackets, where if you accumulate anything between 10 to 13 demerit points, it can lead to 6 months disqualification. Anything between 14 and 19 demerit points can lead to a 1-year disqualification. And anything in excess of 20 demerit points can lead to a 2-year disqualification. But it's important to also state that disqualifications don't happen just like that. We must, as the licensing authority, as the law dictates, we must take that person through due process. So the licensing authority, when we gather that kind of information on the system, we write to the individuals and ask that person to provide reasons to us in writing, whether you use paper, whether you use an attorney, whether you type it up, whatever, provide your representation to the licensing authority as to why your permit should not be disqualified. But but the point also we want to drive home is that the power is in your hands, because from the time you get that first ticket that carries the demerit points, you're supposed to already have in the back of your mind, let me change my driving behavior. I don't want to get no more demerit points, because in 2 years' time, those 4 demerit points, 3 demerit points, or whatever the demerit points can come off your record once you practice good driving behavior. So it's 2 continuous years of good driving behavior. Those points are expunged from your record.
And you basically start over from new.
And you start from 0. Yeah.
All right. What are some more of the things that people miss when it comes to their vehicles that they should be aware of?
Yeah, I heard earlier on the call, I talked earlier on about obtaining a certified copy at the licensing office. In Tobago, certified copies are obtained the same day, even ours. Right? Once the system and everything is in the system, you get a certified copy in less than an hour in Tobago, which is a very good initiative. Transfers are done the same day. So it's important to get your certified copy. And so a lot of people have the old certified copy, which is the handwritten analog one. We are asking people to come and update their certified copy. Get a new certified copy, get it so that all the information will be on the system, and they can now have that ease when doing their transactions, even at the private garages and things. Once they have a new certified copy, all the information will be updated, and they can go to the private garage and everything will be on the system. And that's one thing that people are not doing. They're not getting an updated certified copy to ease the way they do their business.
And a lot of times they might sell the car without doing the necessary transfer.
Yes. So the only way to know if everything is on the system and if everything is okay with your vehicle is by getting a certified copy, an updated one. And this is something that we try to get people to do. Make sure you your permit must be valid, your insurance must be valid, your inspection must be valid. And that's something, everybody should at least, and these are something that is visual, is eyesight. You don't need to go to anybody to see that. It's there in front of you, take it out, take out the insurance from your car, take a look at it, see when it's expiring, take out your inspection, even your driver's permit, take out your driver's, hey, it's valid, or it needs you. And in Tobago, we have observed that there are numerous and a lot of people who permit has, when they come to renew, it's a year or 2 years since it's expired, and now people are now realizing, only when licensed officers in Tobago now that people say, well, what shall I check my permit, what I check my insurance, but this is something that they should have been checked in all the time, not when licensed officers come or when police stop you. This is something, is an ongoing, is an everyday thing that people need to do,
And what about simple things like cracked windscreens and that sort of thing?
If you're looking at cracked windscreen, right? I mean, I don't want to sound drastic in a way, but it's discretion on the officer who stop you, I would say. A man may have, let me say, just a hairline crack. You may want to give him a warning, you may want to give him a certain amount of leeway. But if you observe a vehicle that we will call it like spider web, right? Now that's obscuring the view of the driver on the roadway. So a decision may be made at that point in time to issue a ticket.
All right. Well, we are getting ready to wrap up, but I want to give each one of you three gentlemen just a chance to address the public with just some of those things that we really need to be aware of. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Winters.
Yes, so, I want to really urge the public in Tobago to, I take it back to the major traffic violations. Wear your seatbelt. Don't use your cell phone while driving. There's so many options. If your vehicle doesn't have a Bluetooth, a hands-free system, a handset, a headset could work. Watch your speed. Don't drink and drive. Drinking and driving is a criminal offense. It is not simply a traffic offense. So I hear people boasting. When we walked the streets yesterday, I hear a guy saying, "Well, I have a DUI from Trinidad." So I was like, that's not a traffic offense, right? That's a criminal offense. So what I really, and I told the public in Trinidad this, practice integrity in your use of the road. So you don't need to see these guys in their white shirts. You don't need to see police officers. You don't need to see blue flashing lights to know to conform to the rules of the road, because everything leads back to safety. Everything leads back to families being able to come together at night, have dinner together, because it's not an easy thing, as we always say, for a family to lose a family member as a result of a road traffic accident. And all what we do is to prevent those occurrences.
Okay. I just want to tell the public that don't see licensing department or the licensing authority as an enemy. See us as a friend. Come to us. You having problems, you having difficulties, come to us. Come to me in Tobago. I will try to help you in any way possible that I can. But don't see us as the enemy. Work with us, work with the licensing authority. Let us get what is supposed to happen. Let us get Tobago on the whole a better country, a better area, so that people can feel safe and we can work things together and have a harmonious relationship. And don't wait. And so when licensed officers come to Tobago, you're happy to see them. It's not the negative aspect of it, but it's the happiness that you bring to Tobago when the licensed officers come to Tobago. So don't see us as the enemy. Work with us and let us work together and try and build the relationship and build Tobago together.
And Mr. Kandace?
Well, as the UTC here spoke, good message sent. I would say, since my area would be inspection, I would like to let the public know that when you come in for inspection, it's not just about paying the 300 and getting your vehicle inspected. Prepare your vehicle for inspection. Prepare mean from the top to the bottom. Especially washing, under washing, check your lights, make sure everything in order, chassis number clean, engine number clean. No. It's a speedy thing. Once these things are in order, you don't have to stay there long, you will not get a defect. And you'll be all right for the road.
And you have no worry about the white shirts.
No worry about white shirts.
All right, viewers, it's been a marathon session this morning, and it's been my pleasure to help you, the public, understand some of the things that we need to be aware of and to perhaps alleviate some of the fears. And like I said, don't be afraid of the white shirts. They're there to help. You can hold them accountable. So these are the faces that you will have to deal with. Take advantage. They said that if you have any concerns, take the opportunity to come and have a conversation and let's see how we could perhaps get your vehicles in line with what the law says they should be. All right, so thank you again. It's been a pleasure. Maybe you can do this again.
Certainly, just yeah.
Definitely looking forward to doing something like this again because there's so much I know that you, the public, don't understand all the time because some of the laws have changed and we also always need to be updating you all on what's been going on. Anyway, so thank you so much for viewing. It's been my pleasure to take you through Good Morning Tobago this morning. And don't go anywhere because at 10 o'clock, we've got brunch. So you're going to want to tune in for that. See you then.
The energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong.